Hello and welcome to the Cyberden, your weekly dose of tech and games. I, Jake, will be chatting with professional actor Hellena Taylor, better known as the voice of Bayonetta from the Bayonetta series. Thanks for coming, mate.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking me.
Now, please tell everyone listening what inspired you to become an actor.
Oh my gosh, it was doing a school play when I was 13. It was South Pacific, the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, and I played the little girl in it. And it was the first time that I did something that I felt that other people enjoyed. They enjoyed my singing voice, and I thought, oh, this is nice. I like this. So that was what inspired me.
You've done your fair share of plays on stage. Would you say it was quite a challenge but satisfying sort of area to work in?
Oh, I love doing plays. I particularly love plays that are well written, the Shakespeare's, the Chekhov's, the really meaty roles, and that wonderful energy from the audience and the other actors, and the rehearsal process is something that I really enjoy.
You've taken part in many projects, but more famously as the banterous but deadly witch Bayonetta. So, how did you get the role? Do you enjoy playing the character? And if so, what is it that you like about her?
Well, I got the role. I went in for an audition at my agency, and they only gave me a line drawing of her and 5 lines to go with. And I just made some bold decisions in the room. I did 3 takes of each line and then went about my day as I usually did. And luckily they saw something in there that they really liked and I got the role. Yes, I love playing her. She's really fun, and I think the thing I like about her most is that she's very sassy.
I'm guessing that based on a simple sketch that they gave you when you were doing the lines for the first game, I'm guessing the developers didn't give you further information regarding the character?
No, they didn't, and it was quite difficult because as an actor you like to rehearse, but they don't let you have the lines beforehand because they're worried about leaking the information. So you have to make it as bold in your mind as you possibly can and use your imagination and use what we call as if. So as if the character was fighting, I don't know, demons or dragons, or I didn't know what they were. I just made it big and bold in my head so I could make active choices, and that seemed to work very well.
Were there any standout moments or perhaps memorable lines?
My favourite line is, I'm rather fond of stuffed animals.
Bayonetta has been described as a cult classic game, and in recent times it's got itself a much bigger fan base, thanks to things like ports, re-releases, and even starring in fighting games like Super Smash Bros. As a playable fighter, which I thought, that was a surprising inclusion, but a very cool one. So, what do you think about the game's popularity? Do you get stopped by a lot of people in the street saying, hey, I know you, you're the voice of Bayonetta, right?
No, nobody's stopped me on the street and recognised my voice. I get a lot of followers on Twitter and enjoy that. I think she's a character that inspires people's imaginations, and she's bolder and larger than life, and people like to enter into that imaginary world where they feel strong and powerful and can be in a different world, really.
There's been a few journalists online, so some of them haven't looked kindly to Bayonetta. Some say, the character's sexist. Do you think that these critics aren't looking beyond appearances? Do you think that there's no weight to these sorts of criticisms?
Well, you can't, when you're playing a character, you don't judge them. You just take on their characteristics. I find I get a lot of emails and tweets from young women who feel that she's a very empowering character and actually feel that they can latch on to something strong in her, and they like that part of her. She's also very loyal and very loving, and she's not afraid to use her sexuality, but she doesn't actually engage in it. So it's very interesting. It's about using your feminine power.
Precisely. Her image is not the sole feature about this character. There are many more layers and depths to her that make her so brilliant and memorable.
Yes.
Have you played much of the Bayonetta games yourself? I wouldn't imagine you're a huge gamer.
No, I'm not. I actually had a charity 24-hour gaming event for a charity called Special Effect, and I played Bayonetta for the first time. That was really interesting and very fun. But it's kind of weird to hear yourself, so I wouldn't naturally get the game and play it.
Let's chat about the television and the movie work. You've taken part in shows like Stargate Atlantis, Barcelona, and more. Doesn't sound like easy stuff, quite honestly. How would you describe the experience?
Well, as a jobbing actor, you just enjoy the roles that come along, and I particularly liked doing Barcelona. It was my first movie, and I got to experience the wonderful city. It's my favourite city that I've ever visited, actually, and I have lifelong friends out there, and it was a really interesting experience. I like film. I worked, actually, when I was living in Los Angeles, I worked on film as crew for 4.5 years, and that was really great fun, and I learnt a lot about it. It was like free film school.
Would you say on-camera work is perhaps more challenging than voice acting?
I find it more difficult because you have less control and you have less time. Stage is really where my passion is at, although every actor loves doing roles and loves working, so it really depends on the writing, I suppose.
So outside of acting, voice acting, etc., how do you like to unwind and relax?
Well, I live on a barge on the River Thames, so one of my favourite things to do is to look outside and experience nature and see the lovely swans and geese and birds and things. I like to cook on occasion. I've just started Argentine tango classes. Sometimes I bell ring, I read, I love going to plays. There's lots of things that I like to do.
Before we round off this interview, anything you'd like to say to all your wonderful fans and admirers out there, to the whole Bayonetta fan base?
Yes, guys and girls, I love you. Thanks for playing, and thanks for really appreciating what we do. I hope to be on Bayonetta 3 and hope to see you there.
And I'd like to thank my wonderful listeners for tuning into this interview on the Cyberden, your weekly dose of tech and games. See you later, Hellena. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.